Welcome to Navigating Your 20s. I'm your host, Jess Hugo, and I am so excited to have you here. I'm an online personal trainer and nutritionist, but honestly, underneath it all, I am just a girl who is struggling, thriving, and surviving somehow all at once. So if this is you, you are not alone. If you want all the juicy tea on what it's like to be a girl navigating her 20s, I'm talking relationships, health, fitness, social life, work, and everything in between, then you're in the right place.
Hello girlies, welcome back. Today's episode is kind of vulnerable. I can't believe I'm sharing it really soon and really quickly in so much detail, but at the same time, we're all besties here, and I think it is a really pivotal moment of something. It made navigating my 20s a whole lot deeper for me. It made my realization that shit can happen to anyone at any age, and sometimes it will change the whole outlook of your life. But I think it's important to talk about because I had no idea what PCOS was before I was diagnosed with PCOS in 2022, which honestly, that is just wild to me. So if you don't know what PCOS is, it's Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Basically, to just say it in the simplest terms, it is a bunch. I think it's 30 to 40 plus on each side of your ovaries, 30 to 40 plus cysts on each side of your ovaries. Is that not just absolutely fucking wild? So I want to talk a little bit about how I kind of came to the realization that I had PCOS or something similar along the lines of, and how I went with getting diagnosed, my fitness journey around it, and all of the things, because it's really important and pivotal in my journey. If you listened in to the previous episode, I really struggled when I was trying to lose weight. At one point, I'd lost some weight previously, and then there was some reason that I just couldn't lose the weight. And I shared a little bit about how I was working with a coach at the time, and I felt like she felt like I wasn't tracking properly and I wasn't doing the damn thing, but I really was. I truly was. There was points in my journey where I wasn't honest, and I would, not track it and say like what my fitness pal didn't say didn't happen, but I truly was being so honest in that period of time, tracking everything, being really consistent, doing my steps, doing my workouts, everything, and my weight was not budging. And she kept kind of dropping my calories lower and lower, which honestly, again, if you listen to the last episode, I wouldn't do that. But anyway, so I just couldn't figure out what it was. So I went and got a blood test, and I said to my doctor that I felt like I had PCOS based on research, but I didn't actually know what PCOS was. Now, I don't really want to bash my doctor. I understand, doctors have to learn a lot to get their degree, and they're not going to be experts in the field. I didn't go to a specific doctor for PCOS or anything like that because I wasn't sure. I just went to my regular GP, and I feel like she wasn't very... she was definitely down for me to, she definitely listened to me and was like, yes, of course, we can organize for you to get an ultrasound to figure it out. But she definitely wasn't educational in it and explained it a lot. And, when I eventually did get diagnosed with it and she told me, she kind of was like, oh, it's okay. You can just go back on the pill. It's fine. And it just was a really rough conversation because I thought I would have a bit more support in that. And anyway, so I'm going to get to the journey. So basically, that's what I said to her. I said that I felt like I had PCOS. The point was that I'd actually come off the pill in 2022 because I don't know if this is other people's perceptions and influencing mine or if it's true, but I felt like I was getting a little bit in my head, feeling like I was a little bit angry, a little bit upset, not fully diagnosed depression, anything like that. Just I felt like I had heightened anxiety, heightened kind of depressive thoughts, and I just didn't feel good in myself. Felt like I was a rager a little bit, I'd get very angry very quickly, and I don't know. And then I know, we all do, I kind of looked it up at the time, and lots of people were saying the same thing about the pill, especially the specific one I was on. A lot of people were talking about it, and I was like, is this facts or is this TikTok advice? I don't really know. So yeah, I came off it, and I asked her if I needed a game plan to come off it. And she was like, no, you can just come off it whenever and whatever. So I did, and then lo and behold, the acne was out of control. The oil was out of control. My face was very oily. My hair was so dandruffy, and it was thinning on my hairline, which if you know me or you've seen what I look like, I've never dyed my hair. I've never done anything to my hair. My hair is just its natural color and stuff. So it wasn't just fragile, thin hair from lots of dyeing or anything like that. I've never dyed my hair. So I want you to really keep in mind that everything was fine, normal, not fucked with, and then everything bad was happening. So yeah, my hair was thinning. You could see it on my like hair, my scalp and hairline. I had lots of dandruff. My face was really oily. My hair, I would usually wash it like once a week, and I was needing to be washed twice a week, which is so wild. That's like a doubled increase, but anyway. And I had such bad acne, but it wasn't just like, oh, I have acne. It was like cystic acne. It was so sore, massive, swelling on like certain areas. It was terrible. I also noticed I was way more, this is like a theory of mine. I haven't actually researched about this. This is just my experience on this particular thing I'm about to say. I felt like I was more susceptible to getting sunburn because I went to Surfers Paradise in October, so it was like sort of almost summer, and I got burnt like a motherfucking crisp, to the point it burnt some of my acne, and my acne like burnt onto my skin, and it was like black. It was really wild times. I'd never been burnt that bad before. And I know obviously in Surfers it's hotter, the sun's hot, but like Australia's sun is hot in general. And I'd never been burnt like that before. It was actually fucking wild. And to be honest, I hadn't been in the sun much because I was working the 2 jobs. As I said at the time, I didn't have a lot of time outside. I worked a full indoor job on both jobs, and I would work from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. So like, to be honest, did I see the sun a lot? No. So that could have been a factor as well, but I've just never, ever, ever been burnt that bad before, ever. So that was really, really wild for me and unheard of. What else? I obviously gained a lot of weight. I felt like I looked very inflamed and puffy and bloated, and just felt like I was holding on to a lot of water weight. Even I have progress photos from the time. Honestly, progress photos can be the best and the worst. I love that you can see how bad my skin was. I love that you can see how inflamed and puffy I was and how miserable I was. But it just makes me sad for that girl because I had already done so much work prior with trying to lose weight, getting qualified, being bashed down at my other job, and everything I talked about in the previous episode. But also like, I just was like, oh, like, why me? That's what I mean. I felt like I had a very victim like complex, like, why me? Anyway, so that was all happening, but I didn't have any excess hair growth. So with PCOS, some of the main symptoms are what I mentioned: the acne, the hair, the oil, the weight gain, and also excess hair. So excessive hair on your arms, on your face, things like that. A lot of people with PCOS actually like shave their face and things like that, which is wild. I didn't have that. I did not have that at all. And she was like, oh, but you don't have that symptom. And I was kind of like, okay, lady, I have every other symptom, but you know, whatever. So she was like, okay, cool, like go get an ultrasound, whatever. So anyway, I booked in for an ultrasound. Tell me why it was not bulk billed, and it was like $300. Medicare actually covered like, I think like $40 or some shit. It was, anyway, my ultrasound experience was not great. The people were not very nice. They didn't want to say much either. I think that is their like job. They're not allowed to say much and things like that. Like, they can obviously understand how to read it, but I think they're like not qualified to obviously share the information. It took them so many weeks to send my doctor the ultrasound, but they actually texted me a photo, which is wild. I never would think that would be a thing, but I obviously don't know how to read it. So I went to my doctor about a week or 2 later, and she said she hadn't got it yet. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, here, like it's on my phone. Can you read it on my phone? Whatever. Anyway, whatever. She was like, no, like come back. Annoying. Anyway, I came back and she's like, oh yeah, you have PCOS. I was like, mic drop. Literally, the silence is needed, because what do you mean? Why are you just saying it like that? Now I feel like my life is over. I actually remembered just now that when I walked out of the ultrasound place, because they were pretty mean to me and I kind of got the vibes that I had pretty bad PCOS, I actually walked out and went in the car and fucking cried and broke down. No one had even confirmed that I had it, but just the way they treated me in there about it, and like kind of what the vibes, the energy I was picking up, I was like, yeah, I have it. And I was like bawling my fucking eyes out, because I was like, what does this even mean? What does this mean for my future? I'm not happy in the body I'm in. Am I going to have to be like this forever? Because that like at the time, navigating your 20s is you're really wanting to change things about you. You're wanting to be your happiest, most confident self. Like, we're in our prime, and being unhappy with my body just sounds like the worst thing ever. And I didn't want to go back in that place of where I was, 10 to 20 kilos ago, where I would hide in oversized tees and not leave the house. I didn't want that. I wanted more for myself, and I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed that, I was helping my clients lose weight and I was looking inflamed, puffy, bad skin, everything. Like, I felt embarrassed about these things, and the version of me now is really nothing like that version. But it just felt so embarrassing. It looked like I didn't look after my health when I truly did. It just was I had other complications, and I felt like I had to justify and defend myself because of it. And even when I was still working between the two jobs, my previous manager was like, oh, it looks like you've lost weight, when I eventually started getting things on track. And I just felt like very uncomfortable that everyone was kind of noticing and talking about me gaining weight again and things like that. But it was because of my health issues. And anyway, so with the blood test, it also came back that I had low vitamin D, C and D maybe, and really low iron, and 8, I'm pretty sure. So I was able to get an infusion if I wanted to and things like that. And things just felt so complicated and frustrating. And that's why my doctor was like, oh, it just like seems like, there's so much to worry about and focus on your iron, your vitamins, obviously getting your period back, because that's the thing with PCOS as well. You kind of lose your period and you don't know what's going on with your period. You're like, is it going to come? Is it not? Some people with PCOS don't get periods at all. And you might be sitting here like, oh my God, that sounds like the best thing ever. It's not though, because sometimes it will come like once a year and it's like the worst fucking period ever. You're like bedbound. And you know who doesn't give a fuck about that? Your manager at work. She doesn't give a fuck. She's like, come into work. I don't give a fuck. I have a period too. No, everyone's period pain is so different. And I am glad that now women's health issues are coming more to light, because, it used to be very bad back in the day. And I think a lot of our parents and their parents, so our grandparents, are conditioned to think, suck it up. Back in my day, XYZ. Yeah, back in your day, you didn't even know about these things. And they still lack research now. I will post about PCOS quite regularly and people still do not realize what it is. I still get questions about what it is, which is fine. If you're sitting here like, yeah, I don't know what it is either, that's fine. But that just shows the lack of research around, health issues that are really affecting women and their health and their weight and their confidence and everything in between. So yeah, the way she kind of dropped it to me made me feel like shit. And when I looked in the mirror, I felt like shit. And I was like, what am I supposed to do about this? And I started doing some research and I actually found out that there's a thing called post-pill PCOS. So when you hop off the pill, just like your hormones are all out of whack, and it can show that. Don't ask me how the cysts just magically appear and maybe disappear on your ovaries. It makes no sense to me. I almost think I should go and get another ultrasound and see like if it's like lessened, because it can fix itself. The thing with PCOS is there is no cure. There's no tablet you can take. There's nothing like injections, nothing like. There's no cure, and it can be a really big deal for a lot of women because it can actually fuck with you having children. It can really affect conceiving for a lot of women, and a lot of women have that goal of wanting to be a mum at some point in their life, and the fact that finding out that you're 22 and you don't even know if you want to have kids or not, and you're finding out that you're diagnosed with PCOS, you're kind of like taken aback a little bit. So that's why I broke down in my car crying, because I just felt like anything else, like between the school situation, the uni situation, the COVID situation, the job situation, and then now I'm getting diagnosed with this, I just feel like, why me? And again, I am not that person anymore that thinks things like that. I do think like it is what it is. I can't control or change my narrative. I can only control how I show up, and I think that is very, very pivotal and important to learn, and something I had to figure out throughout my 20s, if that makes sense. Despite the fact of everything feeling kind of negative, it felt good to kind of just figure out what actually is wrong. Like it was good to be like, yes, I was sticking to everything 100%. It's just I actually have PCOS. So I had to change things up a little bit to help with my PCOS. And I think a lot of women think you can't lose weight with PCOS. Trust me, I did it, because I had been gaining back the weight at this point, and then I lost another about 12 kilos from that point. So trust me, you can do it. I don't know if I had PCOS for my first 10-ish kilo drop. I don't really know. Like, I didn't know if it was a thing, so I didn't get an ultrasound. I didn't know at that point any of those things. So can I confirm if I had it or not when I first originally started my weight loss journey? No, but I can confirm that I had gained back weight. I was struggling to lose weight. I followed a PCOS plan, and that is how I continued on with my weight loss. So I want to talk about the plan that I did kind of in detail, but like nothing too specific, because everyone's body is different. But so with my diet, a lot of people think that you can't have carbs with PCOS because you can have insulin resistance PCOS, but let's be real, we still need carbs to function. Carbs fuel our brain. They give us brain power. They fuel our sessions, our training sessions, our walks, our anything. They fuel our day at work. We need carbs to survive. I really don't understand. Like, listen, okay, actually, before I say it, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and thoughts on this, but I really don't understand how people are living without carbs. Our brain needs carbs to function, period. So I was not going to cut out carbs, but I was aware that you needed to kind of reduce your carbs with a PCOS diet because we aren't as good as a normal regular person with no health issues at kind of absorbing them. So I reduced my carb intake a little bit, nothing crazy. I was still eating in the hundreds. It was just less than, which was really hard for me to navigate because I wouldn't say I'm like a massive carb eater, like I run to carbs, but carbs are in everything. You don't realize how lucky you are until you have any type of like health issues or anything like that. Like I have a couple clients who are like celiac, have IBS, things like that, and they have to really be careful about what they can eat, and they've had to cut out so many foods, and you don't realize how much of shit is in shit until it affects you. So yeah, I realized that carbs were in everything. For example, I would eat like toast or like 2 slices of bread every single morning, and then from there, or I'd eat a cereal. Guess what? That's carbs as well. And then from there, I would make like a sandwich for lunch or like a stir fry with rice. There we go. Again, I'm eating the carbs. And then for dinner, it'd be similar thing. It'd be like a stir fry style thing with pasta or rice, or maybe like hamburgers, like homemade hamburgers. Then they'd be on a roll. And I was like, fuck, like I'm having like so many carbs in my day to day. Like that's just the norm for me. Like what am I supposed to do? What am I going to eat? Literally, because I needed to, take away some of those carbs and then fill it up with some fats, which, by the way, just if you're new here, fats do not make you fat, bestie, okay? They don't. They are needed for your hormone health, and when you have a hormone imbalance, such as PCOS, you need even more of them. So I was prepared to do the damn thing, but I was really stressing because I do not like many fat sources. So some examples off the top of my head that I hate that are a fat source: nut butters. I don't really like peanut butter or anything like that, so that's gone. Next, avocado. I hate avocado with a passion. Some things that I do eat, like eggs, but they only have about 5 grams of fat, so I'd have to eat like fucking 3 eggs to even get a quarter of my like essential needs. So it was very, very hard for me. And even at the time, as I said, I was working with this coach, and they were like, oh, how about you have ghee? Which ghee? I didn't even know what it was at the time. So if you don't know, no judgment from me. I was like, what is ghee? It's like a butter. And I was like, I don't want to be like putting in a bunch of oils and butter to get my fats up, because it would just like, there's nothing wrong with them. This is not about the calories. I don't like the taste of them, and I don't like the feeling of them. They make me feel heavy. They don't agree with my stomach. I hate oils and butters. So I was like, this is like so hard. Like I felt very, very resistant about it, and I had to like kind of take a step back and be like, what do I want to do? And this is why a lot of the time when I get messages about I can't lose weight with PCOS, are you doing the right diet for PCOS? Because I know the resistance. We don't want to change our lifestyle. We have been conditioned to eat cereals or toast for breakfast every single day of our fucking life. Why would we suddenly want to be changing it to like avocado, eggs, and like fucking steak? Why would we want to do that? And I know it sounds almost carnivore-y. It kind of is. You know how it's a bit trendy now to get the wooden board and have like some fruits on it with some steak, some eggs, some cheese, things like that. Yeah. So for me, I was sticking to what I knew. I like eggs. I like cheese. Sometimes I would literally just snack on cheese, which I know sounds weird, but I was desperate. I had to do something to get my fats up, and I wasn't giving in to the nut butters, the oils, and the fats and all the freaking butter. I couldn't do it. I always was no. I'm literally like stumbling on my words because I was so against it. And then protein stayed the same for me, and that was all fine. So I really stuck that out and really had to kind of change up my training. I feel like I was overtraining. So I wanted to, this is wild. I really wanted to compete at the time before all of this happened. And then I felt like this diagnosis almost made it solidified the fact that I like couldn't. I know you can do anything that you put your mind to, and I guess deep down I could, but I don't know if I'd be able to bring a best competitive package when other girls on the stage don't have the same hormonal imbalance as me that makes me hold a little bit of extra belly fat, which makes me a little bit more inflamed in general. Like I just felt like I would be at such a disadvantage. And I was kind of saying this to this coach. This is why I worked with her. I worked with her because I was in a pre-prep phase while all of this was happening. I wanted to get on stage. I was literally doing the work. I was training 5 days a week. I was following a bodybuilding like schedule and diet. I was doing the fucking most. And that's as well like why she was being a bit like harsh with me about like, are you being honest type thing, because I wanted to get on stage. But the thing was, I actually was being honest, and it was my body like disagreeing with me. And I felt like my body almost kind of decided for me, like, listen, you can't compete. And I know I could probably still do it now and get it done, but I've never actually been lean enough to know. I've never actually known what my body can do at that stage. And I just don't want to fuck up my PCOS even more, make it rage out of control and be a whole thing just to compete in a show. So I feel like I just had to kind of let go of that chapter, which is funny because I was chasing it for 2 to 3 years in a pre-prep phase. I hadn't even got into a later one. I'd probably be competing at some point soon if I stuck to it, but I couldn't. And I was like, it's fine. I was definitely training too much. As I said, I looked so inflamed. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break from working with this coach, because not because of her. I took a break from working with anyone, full stop, because I actually know what I'm doing in terms of doing like lifestyle coaching and stuff. The reason I wanted to work with her was to do prep, and then now I feel like I can't do prep and that my body fucking hates me. So I feel like, okay, I need to not do that anymore. So I stopped coaching. It kind of aligned at the time anyway, because she worked for someone else and then she decided to go on her own. So she was quitting anyway. So I just kind of quit when she quit her job type thing and just went on my own way. And I was slowly trying to figure out like what worked for me. When I look back at the videos, I was a lot bigger than I realized at the time. You could see that I was holding on to so much, especially around my stomach, and my body fat percentage was just so high, even though I really truly do have quite a lot of muscle mass there. At this point, I've been training for like 4 years. Yes, it takes time to put on muscle, don't get me wrong, but I've noticed recently, like last deficit when I leaned out, you could really see my shoulders and stuff like that. And I was like, this is so interesting. Like before, I looked so like I was just covered under a thick layer of fat. Let's be real, we all have abs under there, but it's covered by a thick layer of fat. Because I was on my own, I kind of just was like, okay, I'm going to do things my own way and figure out kind of what feels good. I'm going to move, not to be like any goal in mind with competing or anything like that. So I did drop back my sessions, and I know I kind of went through a bit of a phase of not wanting to train at all and really like resenting the gym. And I think it's just because when you're working towards something and you go in with such intention and then it gets taken away, it feels a little bit hard. Not taken away, but kind of almost feels out of reach. And again, this is a thing about navigating your 20s. I would have had a different mindset now if I found out, but this was a couple years ago, and I just feel like I wasn't mature enough. Like I was definitely mature, but mature enough to be handling all of these things at once. Like as I said, there was like so many things going on, and it just makes you want to like crawl into a ball and just like deal with absolutely nothing, which I think is made out to be wrong. But adults, meaning not us, adults meaning like 30s, 40s, 50s, still struggle with these things. They still want to crawl up in a ball and just lay in bed all day. So I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling that way, but I do think that I would have navigated it a little bit differently if I found out now, because yeah, I thought my life was over. And for me, I've always been someone that's like unsure about what they want in terms of like, do I want a family? Do I not? I don't know. But it felt like weird to just have it kind of decided for me. Again, not decided, but people like women with PCOS have major problems conceiving, way more than just the average person. But again, I feel like there's so much more research coming out, and that was the thing as well. You feel lost because there's no research. If you're someone that does have PCOS, how did you feel when you found out? Because I think our initial reaction to anything, right, is we want to Google and find out more. As soon as your throat's hurting or your ears throbbing, you're wanting to look up on Dr. Google like what's happening, what's going on. That's how I felt. And there was just such a lack of research on the internet. And I started even looking up like scholarly articles to read more, going to like uni, you know how unis do like research centers and things like that, going to them and reading about them and things like that and the research they conducted and stuff. And everything was kind of inconclusive. They didn't really have an outcome. They weren't really sure. And it honestly feels like something that's just going to be like that for ages. It's like how there's not even a cure for cancer yet. PCOS is definitely lower than cancer. Like, she's on the bottom of the list. Cancer is a number one priority, and they still haven't found a cure for that. So I just don't think there will be a cure. Like, you know, I don't want to touch wood on that one. I want there to be a cure, but I just can't see it happening because there is so much misinformation and lack of research in that space. I know I've shared a lot about my own opinions and things like that, but I want to go into answering some questions that I actually have received recently from just women who I have shared my story a little bit on TikTok, not in that detail, you know what I mean? I don't have 40 minutes to chit chat back and forth on TikTok, but I have like shared a little bit here and there. So a lot of women do know I struggle with PCOS, but you know, I did manage to lose the weight on it. And did I have it the whole time? Yes, no, maybe, whatever. We've already been over that. So, you know, it's great to see that people are like really resonating with it. And I got a message recently asking if I had to heal my PCOS and hormone imbalances first before going into a deficit. So for me, I feel like I actually had no idea about what it all meant, as I said. So in terms of healing things, there is no cure. You can go to a naturopath and kind of like get different herbal things and whatever. But I just think that I actually at the time I did Google and look into it, and all the ones around me had massive wait lists, or I could do a virtual one with some random girl who said she specializes it in the city, and it was like $200 for the virtual one, which kind of bummed me out. Like, paying $200 for a virtual thing is wild to me. And then the ones near me were like almost $400, which I was tempted. Again, my health is very important to me. I invest money into my health. If you don't, that's fine, but like, you know, that's where I was at. Yes, I do think it's a ridiculous amount, but at the same time, I really was like, okay, maybe I should do this because I need help. Anyway, they had massive wait lists, so I just never ended up going. But something I can share is one of my clients is going down the herbal route. She, you know, goes and sees a naturopath and is like trying to heal it all naturally. She doesn't want to go on the pill, and she struggles the most with acne, bad periods, and weight. And she's having a good experience so far. So do I think it's like a bad experience or anything like that? Absolutely not. But do I think you need to heal your imbalances and stuff before going into a deficit? Not necessarily. I definitely didn't. I didn't understand any of it. So I just went straight back in a deficit, as I said, a PCOS deficit, and things started to change for me. Now, I'm going to be so honest here. It's a grind. It is a grind. I get messages all the time. I haven't lost any weight with PCOS, blah, blah, blah. You really need to like almost tell yourself, like, suck it up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have to say to myself, suck it up. You've been dealt this card. It's not going to be as easy as the girls you see on social media. I think that's the problem. TikTok, it's the thief of our fucking joy because we compare ourselves to everyone. On TikTok, everyone's saying that they've lost X amount of kilos in X amount of weeks. It's so easy for them. You know, you see these massive transformations where they look like lean beans afterwards. And you're like, why can't I have that? And how did they do it in 6 weeks? First and foremost, I want to say 99% of these people are lying. There are obviously some genuine ones and stuff, but let's be real. They are fucking lying. On top of that, genetics play such a big role. And this is what I was saying before. You have to remember that, as I said, like, can I step on stage and be competitive? I know that my stomach holds more fat than the average person. That's where our freaking ovaries are. That's where our freaking 40 cysts on each side are. Like, how am I just going to remove them away? I can't. So you have to remember that. And you have to remember, like, genetics, age. There's so many different factors. And I don't want to get into age too much. It does piss me the fuck off. I guess if you're here, you're navigating your 20s as well. So you'll kind of you've probably been dealt this card a little bit. So I share my journey online, as you guys know. I think 20 kilos is fucking wild. I almost used to dull that down. No, 20 kilos is fucking wild, Jess. You fucking did that and you teach other women how to do that. Like, you're cool as fuck, honestly. But so I will like post my journey here and there. If people are asking for advice, I give it for free, by the way. I'm not charging these bitches. I'm literally like just giving away my tips and tricks for free. Someone recently posted in a group page that they were really struggling to lose weight and it was making them feel really depressed and they didn't want to leave the house. Honestly, I really resonate with all of that. So I felt the need to give advice because I have been their girlfriend. I feel you. And I was just giving a little bit of advice and was saying like, yeah, I've lost 20 kilos. I felt the same way. Like, don't go 0 to 100. All the things, like all of the things that I say, like I said, like it's very, very important. And then some lady on the page, I don't know how old she is, let's just say 40 plus. I think she's like a mum, but I don't really know. I don't know. Why are we making assumptions about people on Facebook anyway? Like how she made them about me. Anyway, she was like, it's easy for you. You're in your 20s. This person might not be. First of all, why are you telling me that I'm in my 20s? You wouldn't even fucking know. She just like aged. She just guessed and made assumptions based on how I looked. I could have a youthful face. I could have been moisturizing since I was 10. What would you know? Second of all, the person posted anonymously, so we don't even know who they are, what they look like, how old they are, nothing. And again, she's just making assumptions that they're older than me because she's older than me. Like the commenter is older than me. And she starts to like attack me. And I was like, listen, I knew this comment was coming because previously, like a week before, I actually had another lady have a go at me as well. It's so easy for you because you're young. Don't block me. Like she was obviously trying to trigger something. That's fine. If it's hard for you and, you know, you're feeling like shit about your journey, that's fine. And you want to project on me, whatever. The don't block me just gives me troll vibes. Like how many people does she go and comment these things on? I don't know. It's like she's asking for a fight, but I wasn't giving it to her. I just responded simply like, yep, cool, whatever. So honestly, with both of them, I was like, I have PCOS. It's a hormonal imbalance and I have had it hard too. It's not easy being in your 20s. It's not easy any age. You can make it simple and have like a specific structured plan and a strategy in place, but it's not fucking easy. And I hated that she commented that because she was trying to like degrade me in like a local community group. I recognized her name. Honestly, fun fact about her, she was giving away, this is a while ago, she was giving away a gift card for an event cinemas voucher and I had organized to pick it up. And then she was like, no, actually I'm gonna keep it. And then she wants to fucking rub me the wrong way about my weight loss. I was like, you're fucked. You are fucked. Anyway, so yeah, she was attacking me. And then I said I had PCOS and all of the things. And some women were like, what's PCOS? And I was a little bit gobsmacked. Some of them were in their like 40s and 50s. I was really shocked that they didn't know what it was. Like, again, there's so much misinformation and not enough information about PCOS and stuff like that. But again, what happened to the women supporting women? Don't even get me started. I know that was a bit of a ramble, but the point is that you can do it. It just takes longer. Sometimes it's a little bit harder. You're going to feel a bit fatigued. But for me, as I said, I felt like I was really overtraining doing those 5 sessions and I kind of lost my way a little bit and it took me a while to get back into it. So I'll talk about what I do now. I am currently training 4 days a week in my home gym. As I mentioned before, I have a fully equipped home gym, private studio at my house. So it's really fucking amazing. Honestly, I have my own space to do my own thing. I don't have to feel heaps of anxiety with the heaps of people around me. Because when I was gaining back the weight, I did feel anxious. I felt anxious standing in the gym and being watched and viewed and perceived by everyone, especially people that knew I'd lost weight. Like, I just felt like people would be like, oh, she's gaining back the weight. She's gained back weight. She looks so bad now. All the things that you could imagine, I was feeling like they were being said about me. So it's really great to have a private space to do it now. And that also means that I can honestly train at whatever time on whatever day without having to worry about crowds and, you know, peak times and things like that, because that would really stress me out as well. Just there's so many people around. And let's be real, we know they're not looking at us, but it just piques your anxiety knowing that there's so many people around. It makes you get really in your head and then you can't even focus on your workout, and it's a whole fucking thing. In terms of my nutrition, honestly, I only dieted once last year. I think as well with my hormones and PCOS, between that and being like a bit of a chronic dieter and trying to lose weight for so long, I felt like I had been in a dieting phase for so many years. Like years. Is that not wild? Now my clients don't do a dieting phase for more than like 4 months and they have little breaks in there and then we do a little reset before we jump back in. Back in the day, I feel like there wasn't enough education around this. I don't really know. I was dieting for months and months and months and months and months, like years. And it's because I wanted to shrink myself. I want you to think back to when you're in your peak dieting phase. What were you trying to do? You were trying to shrink yourself. You were trying to change yourself completely. You were sick of how you looked. You would go to bed every night feeling miserable about yourself. You'd wake up, look in the mirror and fucking hate everything. You'd want to keep your morning skinny all day because you just couldn't bear to see your body after you consumed a drop of water. And, you know, bloating and all of those things is a whole another topic, but I'm going to wrap this one up. So if you have any questions about more on my journey, I may have missed some bits, I may not have gone into enough detail for you, it's okay. This is your permission slip to be nosy. Send me a DM on Instagram and we can chat. I think I did cover like most things, but if you're in this phase of getting diagnosed and finding out things, just know you're not alone, and I want you to just feel the emotions. I feel like no one gave me that permission slip to feel the feels and, you know, cry it out in the car. You are allowed to do that. You're allowed to gain some weight and have fucking health issues. It doesn't represent you as a person. It doesn't make you any less as a person. You're allowed to do that. And I know for me, especially on my page, like I'm a weight loss coach, I talk so much about weight loss. You don't need to always be in a weight loss phase. You really don't. And that's the best thing I ever learned, especially with PCOS. Sometimes your body and your hormones just need to be nurtured. So please, please, please look after yourself. Any questions, let me know, and I'll chat to you all soon. Thank you so much for being here for another week. I hope you guys are enjoying these, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. That's a wrap on another episode of Navigating Your 20s. Thank you so much for joining me and taking the time to listen. If you enjoyed the conversation, vibes, and got something out of today, please feel free to send me a DM with any key takeaways and feedback, or share on your socials and tag me so we can connect. If you liked today's episode and you're wanting more from me, you can find me on all socials at success.withjess.